So, do you want to know how to take your cluster from looking like this to this? I'm going to tell you how to do it coming up.
Yeah, I confess, Father, I confess, 'cause I've been living wrong.
What's going on, Belt? Welcome back to another episode of Wolf Vision. So check this out, we're in a little different layout. One, because the car is still under construction from getting the new radiator system done, which is looking legit as hell. And we're also making upgrades to the bolts. And we're also upgrading the cluster, which is the biggest thing coming up, okay? So today, what I'm gonna basically tell you is I got the cluster right here. I haven't even opened it. It came in. I'm gonna unbox it with you. We're gonna look at it, talk about maybe some things we don't like about it, but really there's not too much not to like when you look at the overall picture of it, okay? So, let's just basically, if for you who have not even seen the inside of my car, here's a clip of the current cluster I have in there now. It's a JDM ITR cluster. I believe this one is Canada. Nope, probably not Canada. It's probably the one from Japan because of the kilometers per hour. But you see, it's a nice cluster. There's nothing wrong with it. It's crisp, but we always want to try to take those little nuances, those next things to the next level. All right. So with so many people getting into builds, and I think it's not a mistake, but I think it's something that is focused on too much, especially for you newer guys getting into the game, or I don't want to say newer guys, but new people getting into newer builds. You're focused on sometimes before you purchase your platform about Bluetooth radio. You're focused on what the cluster is going to do. Can I read tire pressure? Am I doing all that? And it's something, if it's important to you, then it's important, all right? But at the grand scheme of things, you need to think about, where are you trying to take your project? Is this gonna be a race car strictly? Is it gonna be a strict track car? Is it gonna be street strip? Is it gonna be show street? Is it just gonna be purely show? With that being said, you need to think about, when you purchase your platform, what all you might upgrade. Is the cluster really important if you're gonna be stripping your dash down, trying to save as much weight as possible, and then you're gonna be ending up running an aftermarket ECU that's gonna have its own plugins, and quite frankly might have gauges or a screen that's gonna relay all the information you need? You might not even keep your cluster. But if you're going show and that's not your case, you still can do that, especially when you're show, because we're always changing things to try to get the edge when it comes to either points or just originality. But sometimes depending on what platform you have, things are not available. Well, guess what? There's a company out, all right, and it's called WireWare Miami. They also have a branch, I believe, in New Jersey. I didn't deal with New Jersey, I dealt with Miami, and with those guys, I had an awesome time, okay? So this is the cluster that I sent to them to be modified, all right? It was a 97 cluster out of an automatic Integra. I have a 5-speed. And at the end of this video, we're gonna go over, if you wanna reach out to WireWare Miami, we're gonna go over some of the things that are gonna make the process not only better for you, but better for them, and know what you can expect, know what you can do based off my experience. And I'm pretty sure you can reach out to them and find out maybe even more. Not maybe, you can reach out to them and find more information, but I'm gonna try to get you started so that when you get into this process, you know what to expect and make it better for everybody. But with that being said, let's open this cluster and get to seeing how it looks. I haven't seen it. I got video, of course, of its testing, and it's awesome. The shit looks sweet. Okay, so let's get into that. All right, so got the box right here. Boom. All right, let's get this razor blade out. Don't want to make this any longer video than it has to be. Always remember, cut away from yourself. Don't cut towards yourself. Now, if I open this box and it looks like crap because FedEx used it as a soccer ball, then that's something that we'll have to address, all right? This is how I packaged and sent my cluster, all right? So it's up to you how you want to package and send it. That's something else we're gonna go over in the end. All right, let's see this thing. Woo. Oh yes. Oh yes. Get that, careful. Another reason we're not doing this video in the garage is because I don't want to risk dropping this on the floor before I even got a chance to get it in, all right? So let's get this out of the way. Oh my goodness. This is a night and day different from what I had to what I am going to, okay? Look at this. Look at that. Yes. that is beautiful. That is beautiful, all right? That is what we got. That is nice, carbon fiber wrap. I tried to up for the option of straight carbon fiber, but they said they carbon fiber wrapped it. So that's cool. I see some things on here that, that could not go depending on what you got. So let's just give an honest review. I do still recommend the company. I think what they're offering is an awesome product as far as what we're doing. And let's just go into what you can expect and probably what they'll do going forward, all right? So right off the back, what I do notice is there are some modifications to the bezel of the original cluster that I sent in order to make this faceplate fit for the screen and the fuel gauge, all right? So what I did was I actually opted for the fuel gauge to be upgraded. If you don't do that, then what they're gonna do is use your OEM fuel gauge, and they're gonna put it right here because that's something that comes separate than the screen, probably more than likely because of the feed or the connection that it comes off of in order to read accurately. Other than that, right here I have a full display screen that is gonna be powered up with all the information. Now what is feeding this screen, the information, is my Honda S300 V3. And I think it's important, I'm pretty sure it's pretty critically important that any ECU that you are using has the Bluetooth wireless capability to stream over information that the ECU is reading from the car. So keep in mind that if that is not the case, that you do not have that capability, I'm not sure if this is something that you can do. So if you have an OEM vehicle, I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to run this having an OEM ECU. I'm pretty sure you're gonna need to be able to have some type of Bluetooth capability in order for this to read. If not, you need to reach out to WireWare Miami. I could be wrong, but that might be something you want to message them ahead of time in. All right, I also see I have like the bezel seems to be a little cracked. It's cracked right here from the modifications that took place. I think the edges could be cleaner as far as going around the bezel, but I'm pretty sure this material, after some time, it's a little bit difficult to deal with. All right, we're talking about cars that are almost becoming to the point they're hard to find, especially clean ones. So with that being said, these pieces are not new, and with that also being said, they're not gonna give as much as they would have had they came out brand new 2000 or 97. All right, so there are some mistakes here, some give and takes when you start doing things like this. I'm really anxious to see my fuel gauge. So on here you will also see in the video that I showed of the demo, which I'll be running when I'm at shows, you'll see the RPMs kick up, my VTEC kick up. Now, when you see the Wolfpack logo right there kick up, that is indicating that my VTEC has kicked in. That's awesome, okay? That's just another touch of personalization to your vehicle. So that logo goes gold when my VTEC kicks in. Now, when I reach red line, what you'll see is the name of my car, which is Harsh Times DC. The Wolfpack Harsh Times DC is the Integra. That screen starts flashing basically as a red light limiter to tell you that you're redlining. That shit's tight as hell, okay? I can't wait to test it out. I'm gonna do a full video of installing this cluster. We're gonna take the car out on the road and test all the parameters and see how it acts in the car. So beware for that video. You might wanna go ahead and subscribe because that's gonna be a road test, highway filming, passes, all that good stuff. So let's turn around to the back of the cluster and see what we got on the back. On the back, we do have quite a bit of dremeling out, and you can see the components that have now replaced the interior or the internals of the original cluster. A lot of things have been cut out so that the box or the screen and the wiring can fit back here, as well as the fuel level gauge that goes right here. As you see right here, there are some pigtails that have been already set, and I'm pretty sure right here this is something I know. Black's got to be ground, this has got to be power, And this yellow one, I don't know, it might be remote or something. I have to see once I get into the cluster. But a good thing is Wireware Miami definitely lends its ear. You do have another USB port up here. I don't know what that one might be used for, as far as it could be used for programming the unit or doing something like that. But they are pretty good with their customer support, as well as I've heard people that have installed these calling them and being on the phone via video call and guiding through the process. So I'm not even worried about when I go to install this. Any problem I run into, I'm just gonna call Wireware and they're gonna help me through it, because they've already displayed that among other customers. So with that being said, let's go over some of these things, because like I said, it's not going to be a long video. You've seen the videos of how this cluster looks when it was tested. You've seen the cluster that I sent in. If this is something that you want to do to your ride, I'm telling you, I think it's going in a whole nother direction. You pull up with an Integra that has the technology of cars that we see today running around, as far as display screens, putting up the information and doing more, because I will have the capability to do a lot more than you see here, but I'm going to wait to put that in another video. So let's go over some things that will help you to basically streamline your process. So one, you will need to have a donor cluster to send to Wireware Miami for this upgrade. They do not supply the clusters and the modifications, so you need to send in what we would typically call a core. What I did is I didn't take the cluster out of my Integra, because that is a JDM cluster with the real carbon fiber bezel. I didn't want to ruin that. That's something that I'm not willing to take out of circulation to modify. So that's just me, my personal aspect on that. So what I did is, and this is important for you to know, because you might assume that you have to have a 5-speed cluster in order to send to them to modify for your 5-speed car, and you need to have an automatic cluster in order to send them to modify for your automatic vehicle. Neither is true. You can send in any cluster so long as it is within your generation, and they will make it happen. The cluster that I sent in was for a 97 automatic Integra. I have a 2000 5-speed Integra. This cluster is going to work because it's going to get gutted anyway. So don't waste your time trying to find a car specific, manual trans specific cluster. Find you a cluster that fits in your generation, and that is fine. Outside of that, the logos that you see on my cluster, I personally designed them myself. You need to probably have some logos ready, preferably PNG instead of JPEG, because PNG is a better file to work with when it comes on laying logos on top of other material. So if you're not familiar with how all that works, just go to Google and type in the difference between PNG and JPEG, and that'll kind of explain to you why PNG is the better file to go with when you start doing things like this. You also will need to reach out to Wireware via email or DM them on the Instagram site and go ahead and get your process started and make the payment for your unit and then send it off. Now, what I did in order to get my cluster back time sensitive wise, I packaged up everything how I wanted it. I sent Wireware a list of instructions, and I also sent them a return overnight tracking, okay, a shipping label. That way I know when he was done with the job, I'm gonna get my cluster the next day, put it in the mail. I packed it how I wanted it, securely and safely done, and that's what was done. You might not have to do that. I'm pretty sure they offer other shipping options, but you're gonna be at the mercy of the fact of if they're gonna offer overnight, and if they don't, then you don't have it. I wanted to take that out of the equation. Plus I wanted them to focus more on the cluster than shipping when it came to my product. So I just went ahead and supplied them with an overnight shipping label. They didn't have to worry about it, slap everything back in the box. And what I did was I used this foam fitting material so that when my cluster was back in here, it was foam fit. There wasn't a lot of moving around. It was really protected, because right now shipping is crazy. I also went with the fuel gauge upgrade. Why? Because you got to think aesthetically. Now I have digital AAM X band gauges on each side with my bezel, because I have the 2 bezel cluster. I have the 2 gauge bezel. Those are digital. I did not want to leave anything analog up there on my cluster at all. So I went ahead and upgraded for the fuel gauge, which is a digital gauge, and it's gonna illuminate red, I believe is what he told me. So that's an option. You don't have to. There are other clusters that are done by Wireware. You can go and see the difference between the OEM fuel gauge being up there and the digital fuel gauge. And quite frankly, I think it's worth the upgrade and the additional money to do that. I'm not sure if I don't think they're still offering the carbon fiber plate option. I tried to pay for it, and I was unclear if it was going to be another $150 for the plate or if it was $400 and something for the plate. I can tell you that I was willing to pay either or for the carbon fiber plate, but they automatically carbon fiber wrap the cluster, so it really kind of like not a big deal. It might be easier just to do that. Go ahead, win with the wrap. Other than that, Integras, Hondas are not the only thing they do. I've seen them do Miatas. I've seen other clusters up there as 2000s. They do a wide range variety, especially that I've seen in the imports. I don't know about domestic, so I don't know about domestic vehicles being done, but I do know in imports I've seen a few platforms, so you're not limited to just the Integra. So other than that, that's something right there that'll streamline. Don't rush them. Don't rush. I don't like rushing anybody when it comes to them having to do things. Now, I did have a specific function that was supposed to occur this weekend, and we had to reschedule due to certain circumstances. So this was kind of time sensitive, but other than that, I wouldn't have rushed them. And I myself even called and told them, hey, don't send it any sooner if you're not ready. But he got it here in time if I had wanted to get it ready for that event. But that event's gonna be rescheduled, so this piece will definitely get in there. So with that being said, I hope this helps. I hope you like the direction that the culture is going in. I think this is a wonderful upgrade. Subscribe, click notification, because the video of this being installed along with the road test is gonna come out real soon. You don't want to miss that, as well as the new coolant and radiator job will be done. You don't want to miss that. So listen, keep building out there, stay positive, stay motivated, let your dreams be your build. Don't let everybody else interfere with that. I'm out.
Yeah, I confess, Father, I confess, 'cause I've been living wrong.